Have you ever been in a place where time seems to stop? Where the wind whispers through the trees as if carrying ancient secrets? And where every step feels watched, even when no one is there? That's exactly how people describe the feeling of walking into Bachelor's Grove Cemetery, a small burial ground hidden deep within the forests of Illinois. But despite its modest size, what happens there defies all logic. Lights floating between the headstones, human-shaped shadows appearing in broad daylight, and the ghostly figure of a woman in white, always alone, sitting on a grave, staring into nothingness. Today, I want to take you with me to one of the most haunted places in the United States. A place where silence speaks louder than the living. Welcome ... to Bachelor's Grove Cemetery. The story of Bachelor's Grove begins long before its legends. In the early 19th century, when the first European settlers arrived in Bremen Township, Illinois, they needed a place to bury their dead. Among the fields and forests, they chose a small patch of land surrounded by oak trees. Simple, quiet, perfect for eternal rest. The name Bachelor's Grove supposedly came from a group of unmarried men, bachelors who lived nearby. Over time, the site grew. Families began burying loved ones there, and by the 1840s, the cemetery had become the final resting place for dozens of people. But peace didn't last long. By the early 1900s, Bachelor's Grove was abandoned. Families moved away, records were lost, and nature slowly reclaimed what was left. And it was in that abandonment that the stories began. During the 1960s, Bachelor's Grove became a hotspot for thrill seekers, occultists, and paranormal investigators. Reports spoke of satanic rituals, ghostly apparitions, and eerie sounds echoing through the surrounding woods. Some swore they saw red lights floating among the trees. Others claimed to see translucent figures crossing the paths at night. But one story, one image, changed everything. In 1991, a team of paranormal researchers visited the site. Among the photos they took, one became legendary. A woman in a white dress, sitting alone on a tombstone, her face calm but sorrowful, staring into the void. The strange part, that day, the cemetery was completely empty. The woman was never identified, but ever since, she has been known as the White Lady of Bachelor's Grove, the cemetery's most famous ghost. I still remember the first time I heard about Bachelor's Grove. An investigator once described it as a piece of another world. And when I finally went there myself, I realized he wasn't exaggerating. The cemetery is small, just a few dozen graves scattered across uneven ground, surrounded by a rusted iron fence. The silence is absolute. Not even the birds dare to sing. And as you walk among the trees, you feel it, eyes on you, from every direction. Near the entrance lies a small pond, known as the Pond of Ghosts. They say that on moonless nights, you can see the apparition of a horse-drawn carriage slowly rising from the water before fading away without a trace. Others believe the pond hides the victims of Chicago Mafia crimes from the 1930s. That theory gained strength after investigators found strange objects and even human bones near its banks. But perhaps the most unsettling phenomenon is the appearance of floating orbs of light. Many visitors report seeing glowing spheres drifting through the air, changing color and direction as if they had a will of their own. Some say they're lost souls. Others believe they're residual energy, echoes of the past trapped in place. During nighttime investigations, cameras have captured translucent figures crossing the woods and disembodied voices whispering through the static. One of the most famous EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, ever recorded there, captured a soft female voice saying only, "Don't go. Maybe that's a warning." One that too many people have ignored. Because, despite its size, Bachelor's Grove feels alive, but not in any way we understand. Some claim the cemetery is a spiritual gateway, a meeting point between the worlds of the living and the dead. The strange phenomena would then be the result of that boundary constantly being crossed. Others tell of a phantom farmhouse, a wooden house that appears out of nowhere and vanishes before your eyes. Whenever anyone tries to approach, it simply fades away. Many believe it the ghostly reflection of a real farmhouse that once stood there in the 1800s, long since destroyed. With each story, the mystery deepens, and the longer you stay, the stronger the feeling becomes that the place is aware of you, watching, waiting. Some say it's just an urban legend, a patchwork of decades of local folklore. But deep down, I can't shake the feeling that Bachelor's Grove is more than coincidence. Because when you stand there alone, surrounded by ancient trees and forgotten graves, the air changes, and you feel it in your bones. ... You're not alone. It was at nightfall that I finally understood why so many people describe Bachelor's Grove as the epicenter of the supernatural. The sun had barely set, and already the forest seemed to come alive. The wind whispered through the trees, forming sounds that resembled distant voices, and every twig snapping beneath my feet echoed louder than it should, as if something was listening. I carried a flashlight and a voice recorder. That night, the temperature dropped suddenly, despite no forecast of cold. The air grew heavy, and for a moment, the wind stopped entirely. A silence fell, the kind that comes right before something happens, something you can't explain. I pointed the flashlight toward the path that led to the lake, and then I saw it just for a fraction of a second, a human-shaped shadow, standing beside one of the tombstones, tall, still, watching. But when I turned the beam of light directly on it, ... nothing. The shadow was gone. Some would say it was a trick of the light or imagination. But when I played back the recording hours later, it captured something I wasn't expecting. 3 slow, metallic clangs, like someone striking an iron gate with a chain. And then a faint whisper, almost too soft to catch, saying, "Leave us alone." That was the moment I realized Bachelor's Grove isn't just a cemetery. It's an archive of memories, a reservoir of fear, pain, ... and something else. A place where time folds in on itself, and the echoes of the past never truly fade. Paranormal researchers have spent decades trying to decipher what happens there. Some claim the apparitions are residual energy, fragments of tragic moments replaying themselves endlessly. Others believe the cemetery is a spiritual knot, a point where dimensions overlap, allowing brief glimpses of the other side. But there are those who insist it's all just a shared illusion, a story passed down, shaped by decades of journalists, thrill seekers, and ghost hunters. Still, if that's true, why do so many visitors return with something they can't explain? A strange voice, a figure caught on camera, a feeling they can't shake. Maybe it's because, deep down, we all crave to touch the unknown, to see what lies beyond. And Bachelor's Grove is that threshold, the point where the real and the impossible meet. When the sun rose and I finally left the cemetery behind, I felt something strange, a mix of relief and loss, as if a part of me had stayed there among the trees, beside the faded names on forgotten gravestones, and the stories no one tells anymore. Looking back at the photos and recordings, I've come to realize the true mystery of Bachelor's Grove isn't just about ghosts. It's about the questions the place forces us to ask. What happens to the things we leave behind? Where do our memories, our fears, our secrets go? Maybe some of them remain trapped in places like that, waiting for someone brave enough to listen. And if one day you find yourself in Illinois walking through that forest, remember this: no matter what you hear, no matter what you see, never look back. If you enjoyed this story and want to uncover more dark secrets like this one, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss a new episode of Urban Secrets. I'll see you in the next mystery. Until then, be careful with what's watching you in the dark.